learning time together. And since it is the first day of your FDP, so it happens to be a little important one because maybe you are able to get some basic concepts of research. Of course, you have got 5 days FDP and long way to go, learn a lot of things. But what I'll be doing today is I will try my level best to give you the bird's eye view of everything in 1 hour time that I have at my disposal. So whenever I start a session, so I really don't want that I immediately come over on the board and, when we have a nice cohort of people and I simply bombard you with a lot of concepts of research. So generally what I'll do is I'll just take 2 minutes of time, and then I have to proceed because I have included a lot of things for you related with research, just to get you a little better clarity on the various terms and terminology that we use. But before that, very quickly, what I would like is, like, I would like to know, let's have some ice breaking session for 2 minutes just to understand, who are you, or from which place you have joined, or maybe, whether you're a scholar, whether you're a faculty member. Just wanted to, get acclimatized with you, because for another 1 hour we shall be there together. And I've got a lot of things to explain, a lot of things to take care. And I hope that I'm able to live up to the expectations of my organizers. Of course, I have been a regular speaker with them, with the IoT Academy. And I hope that I'm able to live up to your expectations too. So very quickly, I hope let me start. So all those people who can hear me, can you please type number 1 in the chat box? All those who can hear me, can you please type number 1 in the chat box? Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you please type number 1? All those people who can hear me. Okay, Dr. Krishna. Okay, Jaya. Okay. 5, Krishna Yadav. Okay, so we are almost 21 of us. So we have, okay, Pushpa. Okay. So very quickly, all those people who have just typed number 1 in the chat box. Very quickly, just maybe 1 minute of time. Let's understand who are you and from which place you're joining. Anybody can unmute yourself and just can give us a small intro. Okay, so let's start the ones, who have already typed number 1 in the chat box. This is Anuboli, Partha Sarati. Okay, Dr. Roy. Dr. Roy. Okay.
Madam, good morning.
Okay, Krishna Yadav.
Hello.
Ma'am, good evening.
I'm Dr. Anuradha.
Right,
Yeah,
ma'am. From which place, ma'am?
Ma'am?
From which place are you joining?
I have joined from Krishna Radha Yadav.
From which place are you joining?
I am from Andhra Pradesh, Srikakulam district, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Srikakulam.
All right. Okay. Welcome to the session, ma'am. Okay. Welcome. All right. So others also? This is Suritha Rani, ARK, Javiron. All right. Yes, you have raised your hand. Yes, Pushpa, madam.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, ma'am.
And this is very happy, good platform to introduce myself. And this is Pushpa, ma'am, assistant professor. And I stay in Karnataka, and this is Bangalore. Near to Bangalore, it is Usukote.
Okay.
And I'm the assistant professor in Patel Group of Institution.
All right.
And currently, when I'm doing my PhD, also I'm the research scholar in the Garden City University.
All right. So you're a research scholar, nevertheless. All right. Thank you so much. So I welcome everyone to the session once again. And so let's go ahead and check out the presentation that I have got for you. And I hope that, again, I'm able to live up to the expectations of my August audience today. So let's begin with this. It says that, I'm going to talk about introduction to the research methodology. And, people are already doctorates, and, people are already working, or people are research scholars. So, the concepts that I'm going to talk about, there's a high probability that you are aware of these concepts. But at times, when we have a group of people, at times it's possible that, different people join from different backgrounds, and at times they get confused and they don't understand what is the basic terminology. Or, even when I used to study in IIM Ahmedabad in 2011, So then when I was also studying, so there were a few concepts which I couldn't get the clarity. But later on, again and again, once you keep on doing research, or you keep on pondering over those words and trying to understand or decipher meaning from them, you are able to get the concept. So the topic that I'm going to deliver today on, it's on the introduction to research methodology. So we all know that research is it's of paramount importance for our academia. Even I am also a faculty member at Banaras Hindu University, a Central University, and IRF ranking. So even if we are assistant professor or associate professor or professors or research scholars, so research is an inevitable part of our lives. So we have to keep on doing research, and we do research with interest. At time, people, they do it for the sake of getting the papers publication, or maybe the thesis submission or dissertation, maybe for their API score, so on and so forth. So basically, when we talk about research, research is nothing but is just finding out anything, anything which is new or anything which is already existing. We are trying to go deep down, and we are trying to unlayer the things in our relevant field. So this research is not only for the humanities or social science, but again, it's in any of the fields. So basically what happens is that we are trying to delve deeper. That is the only thing that I can say, that we are trying to delve deeper in a very, very logical and a systematic way. So that is when I talk about the systematic or logical way or approach, that becomes our methodology. So methodology is nothing but is just the way we are going to proceed, or the way we are going to plan our future course of study. So research is basically, we say in our academia, that is defining the problems, formulating the hypothesis. At times people may be new, they are not very sure that what is the meaning of hypothesis. So hypothesis is nothing but is just an assumption that we make, and we are trying to prove that assumption is true or not true. For example, if I say, is there any relationship between a culprit and a crime? So I say I have formulated a hypothesis, and I'm trying to prove that is there any relationship or no. So we, in our generally empirical researchers, we go for the hypothesis, and we have different kind of statistical tests with which we try to test the hypothesis, and then we say that is there any relationship between or no. So it's a kind of a casual relationship that we have. Then research is all about the collection of the data, organizing and evaluating. We all know that the data has to be collected in a proper manner. As an academician, we all know that data is of two types, the primary and the secondary. Primary is the first-hand data, the empirical study that we do, and the secondary is like any data which is already published. We are trying to make some assumptions and do some kind of calculation and come out with the result. But one of the best kind of research that we have, it's always the empirical one, where you actually collect the data, and then we draw the inferences, or we make generalizations about the population. Then it all talks about the testing, and drawing the conclusion, or the we are trying to get the conclusion or the inferences that we call. So we see that why we actually do research, because ultimately, why are we talking about research? At times we are trying to find some solution to the problems. At times we are trying to figure out some kind of new theory, or we are trying to justify something. We are trying to do, and we are trying to analyze something. We are trying to diagnose something, or maybe we are just facing with some challenges, as it is written on the screen also, and we are trying to seek some answers to the problem. So actually, this is the purpose of the research. So research is not only that, okay, we are doing research because we have to do research. There has to be an inquisitiveness from within, that okay, we are doing a research, there we are curious enough to know why it is happening, what will happen, or why things have happened. So that will all take we'll be talking about in the case of research design when we talk about it. So why do we do research? Just to validate our intuition. Like, for example, I said, is there any relationship between the culprit and the crime? So that's my intuition, that okay, is there any relationship? I'm still trying to figure out. So we are trying to validate it with the help of methods, or maybe we are doing it, the research for the paper publication. Of course, we all know about the API, we all know about the promotion policy, we all know about the CAS policy, or we are trying to get some kind of patent. We are trying to figure out something exactly we are trying to figure out something very new. So this is why we actually do the research. Now most important part of a research is that we have to understand that why we on what topic we are going to do it. So how do we decide on a subject? So anything can come out of your mind that, okay, I need to do a research on this topic, or it is based on on some idea, or maybe on some technology, or maybe because you have observed something, there is some kind of curiosity, or maybe because of based on your experience, you will like to know that, okay, why things are happening, let me do some kind of research, let me float some kind of uh, get some data from the people. For example, big companies, they are into a lot of business, so they would like to know that, why things are happening, or they would like to know about the future prospects. So we can choose a subject on anything. So definitely the subject should be such which is relevant to your area, and we have that kind of inquisitiveness to know more about it. So this research is basically the systematic way, the logical formation is there. So logical formation is like we go step by step. For example, if we have in a newspaper, whenever we read an article, so if there is an article on if you're reading an article on an accident, so even the reporter is going to report the accident in a logical way, right? So for example, if a bike was coming and it dashed against the truck, the person who was on the bike, he or she fell down, he or she got he or she got hurt, then the ambulance came, then the person was taken away to the hospital and the treatment was done. So we cannot have in the haphazard way, okay, he was done, he was in the hospital, then again he came back, then he rode a bike, and then he dashed. It's not like that. There has to be proper reasoning, or there has to be a step by step procedure that we go in the case of our research. And empirical is basically based on the evidence. So when we talk about the evidence, is like there is some kind of proof, because we actually collect data from the people, and this research is we are trying to figure out, or we are trying to seek some answers to the questions, or how, or there are certain objectives which are there in our mind. So how do we decide on that? So for that purpose, we actually do literature review. And in the case of literature review, we do, like, if you have decided on a particular topic, we go for the LR. And this LR is very, very exhaustive, which helps us to find out the research gaps. And then, then you can take care, okay, this study was not done on this, okay, let me pick up this topic and let me do the research. So this is basically the characteristics of our research. So now in the case of the steps involved in the research, we have to choose a subject. Literature review, now you've chosen a subject, okay, I'm going to do a research on marketing, I'm going to do it on HR, or maybe the finance part, or maybe on production, whichever area you are from. Maybe somebody does it in math, somebody does it in English, somebody does in physics, somebody does it in chemical. So you have to choose a subject. Second comes the literature review. Now literature review is a very, very exhaustive topic where I deliver it for another 1 hour, but I do not have time at my disposal to tell you. But you should get the bird's eye view, that you should know the bird's eye view, that literature review is nothing but the work which has already been done by the previous authors. We are trying to get that insight and trying to figure out, and the main purpose of the literature review is identifying the gaps, and with the help of that gap we can proceed further. Then with the help of that literature review, then we go for the specific questions. Now the question is like, why is it happening, what will happen, or is there any relationship? And that is a kind of a casual relationship we have, the cause and effect relationship. For example, if I say, does the horsepower of the engine has an impact on the performance of a car? So I'm just trying to find, is there any relationship or no? So my objective is to find out the, the factors which affect the efficiency of a car, for example. Then we go for the synopsis, and then we can go for a material, or maybe the experiments, or maybe the, the data collection part. And then once we have the data with us, we go for the analysis part. And once we do the analysis, then we go for the hypothesis testing, my dear friends. So hypothesis is nothing but it's just a wild guess which we have, and we are trying to prove it, that whether it is right or whether it is wrong. And then we are trying to generate the, when we get the results with the help of the application of the different kind of tests that we apply on these basis of the certain criteria, we draw the inferences about the entire population based on the sample part. And then we have the project writing. Now look here, this is very important. Like firstly, the process, we have to understand that what is the problem, what are we actually trying to figure out, whether we are talking about the whether we are seeking for example the question is like, okay, is there any relationship between the AI and the teaching pedagogy of our teachers, for example? So it's a kind of a question that I'm trying to find out. For example, if there's a problem, for example, during the time of COVID, so COVID was a big problem itself. So we did a lot of research on during that phase also. Second is with the we have to formulate the goals and objectives. How we are going to do it? With the help of literature review. So all those research scholars who are able to hear me today on this platform, please have a thorough literature review. Please make a proper Excel file where you note down the different headers, and with the help of a good rich literature review, once you have it at your disposal, I'm sure your research is going to be of big quality. Then we talk about the designing or the research design that we have got kind of different kind of research design. For example, we can have exploratory research, or maybe we can have a diagnostic approach, or maybe the analytical research, pure research. I'll just talk about it in my future slides also. So you have to be very clear that, okay, what kind of research design you're going to have, and which is the most appropriate research design for your particular research. And then we have got we generate results. How do we generate results? Once we have the data with us, and once we have the data, we apply different kind of test, if it is a quantitative kind of a study, and if it is qualitative, then there's a different way of doing the research. And then finally we interpret the results. So in the case of research methodology, as I told you, that it is the way by which we are going to proceed with our research. So it's like what we are doing, how we are going to do it, why, what. So we actually answer these questions: why we are doing it, what we are doing it, and how it is going to be executed. How we are going to execute the result research, which is actually valid and reliable also. So it's a kind of a broad framework that we have at our disposal, a step-by-step movement, which will help us to go ahead with that, with our designing, or the with the research. So why we are talking about the research methodology, because it is going to give us the kind of a blueprint, and we have to understand that whenever we do any kind of research, the manpower, machinery, material, money, effort, everything is involved in a rigorous way. So of course we don't want all these things to go in a way, in a vain, or maybe go waste. So we have to be very meticulous when we are doing our research also. Then we have to understand that we are not doing anything which is already done in the past. So that would be the replication, or the duplication, or redundancy. So we do not want to do those kind of research. And these research publications also, they look for the novelty of your research. They don't want anything which is already done. For example, if I talk about the working capital cycle, so everyone knows about the working capital structure or working capital strategy. So they want some kind of novelty in your research. So that is why we have to go deep down and understand the work. Then there are certain components in the research methodology. Maybe the people who are here in the first year of their research, in their research journey. First is the research design. I'll be just discussing in my few slides just from now. And then we have got the research methods. Now, quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods. Quantitative is basically where we are trying to get the first-hand data with the help of questionnaire, or focused, or group, or interview, or observation. There are different ways by which we collect data. And qualitative is something where, of course, qualitative, the name itself is telling us something that which we cannot quantify, but yes, we are doing some kind of qualitative research. Or in our research methodology, we can have a mix of both. Then it's like how do we make a decision that which is the best kind of research, the research method. Then the ball is in your court. You have to take a call that which kind of research you're going to do it. Then we have got research instruments like interviews, surveys, or data collection. Now, if you're doing any kind of data collection, that is your primary way of doing the research. And of course, there are high chances of your publication also in high reputed journals. Then we have another word which is known as sampling and data collection. Now, sampling is basically when we have got a huge population, it is not possible for people to go to everyone and get the responses. So what we do is we actually sample it. So we create a kind of a subset from the entire population, and then we make the generalization. Okay, for example, if you have a bag which contains a lot of balls, and the parcel is there, if you pick up 2-3 samples, and then you say, okay, these balls are fine enough, so we say, okay, the entire package or entire consignment is fine. So that means we are actually generalizing. So that is known as the sampling part. And data collection is again the way why we are going to collect the data from our respondents or from our participants. Then we have to validate and rely, we have to check the validity and the reliability of a test also. Now, what is the meaning of validity and reliability? Now, for example, if you have got a thermometer, so if you have got a thermometer, the thermometer is going to help you to measure the temperature, body temperature. And every time you are putting that thermometer, you are getting the consistent results. So that is the concept of your validity and reliability. That means the instrument that you used, it is measuring what it intends to measure, and the results are consistent over the period of time also, or the stability is there. Then we talk about the ethical consideration. Ethical consideration is basically where we talk about the plagiarism, that we do not cut, copy, paste, and the research that we are doing, it is like not hurting anyone, or we are maintaining the confidentiality as it is already mentioned on the screen also. So we have to be very careful about all these things. So now, research design, I know, like, what is the meaning of research design? Research design is basically the overall structure that how we are going to proceed with the our research. So people say that it's a kind of a plan, it's a strategy, it's a it has to be within our budgets and are in our time frame also. Now, I don't know how many of you know. Can you all hear me? Hello, hello. Okay. All right. So, at times when we do our research, you might have heard a lot of words like construct, or you might have heard about the word variable. So, anyone has any idea about these words? Construct or a variable? Okay. So even if you're holding a pen and a paper in your hand, you can write down if you get confused, because long back even we used to get confused. So, when we say construct, so construct is basically the broad idea, the abstract form. For example, are you going to measure the honesty of anybody? Are you going to measure the job satisfaction level of somebody? Are you going to measure the happiness level? Are you going to measure the satisfaction level, or the truthfulness, or the the decision making skill, anything like that? So these are the construct which are abstract. So we cannot say that how much are you satisfied. You cannot say that I'm 20 kgs satisfaction I have received from Dr. Raki's session. You cannot say like that. So how do we measure that kind of satisfaction? We do, or we measure that kind of satisfaction with the help of the variable. So variable is a concept where which helps us to capture that the essence of the construct. Please don't get confused. Construct is in the abstract form, and variable is a concept which helps us to capture the essence of that construct, right? So in our studies, generally when we do, you just have to remember about two things. One is the dependent variable and another is the independent variable. I'll give you a very short example. Now, dependent variable, for example, I have been talking about the performance of a car. So what are the factors which will affect the performance of a car? So if I want to measure the performance of a car, it will be my dependent variable. Okay. So which is going to be affected by the independent variable. So people will say that, okay, ma'am, the mileage is there, the safety part is there, the engine is there, the horsepower is there, or maybe the look of the car will also decide that how many cars are going to be sold in the market. So these are the things which are going to have an impact on the product, the performance of a car, are your independent variable. And at times we call them as the predictors also. So if in case if you hear the word predictor, don't can confuse. Predictor basically means the independent variable, and the part is like the independent variable, they can be manipulated, right? So for example, you can manipulate the mileage, you can manipulate the pickup, you can manipulate the horsepower, you can manipulate the safety features. So these are the things which are actually going to affect the dependent variable, that is your performance of a car. So when we have the research design process, we have to, this is we have actually done it. So now why we are more focused on the good research design? Because we have to take care that it is not redundant, it is not repetitive, it is very efficient, easy to implement, and of course the theory is grounded, or the environment in which we are doing our research is feasible enough. And we have to be very careful that our research doesn't become too expensive, and it is not biased related with with your population or a specific sample size, and we have all the aspects of our research covered in a proper way. So when we have this whenever we have this research, we have to understand it has to be thoroughly designed, properly framed. The limitations are done, the data collection is done in an unbiased way. This is very essential. Please understand that whenever we are floating any kind of questionnaire or survey to people, it has to be an unbiased. We have to, you might be having a different session maybe on questionnaire designing, which tells you that okay, the questionnaire that you're designing, it should be done in such a way that people are willing to answer those questions. So if it is getting biased, then of course you lose the essence of your research. Then our most important part is the research problem. As I told you that you have to identify that what you're actually doing. So we have to understand that whether we are going to do a study related with the individuals, whether it is going to be with the group or community or the organizations, or are you going to talk about the issues, or maybe the success. For example, people, they do research on the different kind of schemes which have been launched by the Indian government. So they do research on those. For example, Atal incubation centers are there. Or whether you are going to talk about the content or the structure or the satisfaction. Now look at the satisfaction or the outcomes. So these are the actually your constructs, that whether you're trying to find out the satisfaction level, whether you're trying to find out the happiness level, whether you're trying to find out the honesty level, whether you are trying to find out the saving pattern or investment pattern. These are just the constructs. So you have to identify that how you're going to get those problems. So whenever we are going to select the problem, it should be interesting, it should be relevant to your study, and the data should be available. Now when we have these objectives, how do we formulate those objectives? Or objectives are formulated on the basis of your data problem, or the once you have done your research. And then the best way is, like, for example, if you're doing any kind of research, so how do we make that kind of theoretical framework? So theoretical framework is always made on the basis of some kind of theory, right? So there are around 30-40 theories which are generally used in our social sciences. And for example, SDT is there, self-determination theory is there, Maslow theory is there, or cervical matter model is there for the finance purpose, or maybe the exchange theories there. So how are you going to get to know about these theories? You are going to get to know about these theories with the help of your literature review. The more papers you are going to read, you will identify, okay, this theory is used. And once you have used that kind of theory, you will be able to take out the variables, or you will be able to take out your constructs. And once your constructs are taken out, then you will be able to formulate your questions. Once you have formulated your research questions properly, then you will be able to formulate your hypothesis also. So now let me come to the types of the research design. I just saw that you have a different session also, but I will just give you a bird's eye view about the different types of research design. For example, we have got pure, applied, exploratory, descriptive, diagnostic, so and so, the ones which are mentioned on the screen. So when we have the pure research, means the basic research, we are trying to understand the basic principles, or maybe the basic properties, and then we are trying to apply it in a different way. So that is your a pure research. Applied is basically we are trying to find a solution to a problem. For example, we say that how we can increase the interest level of the consumers, or how we can increase the satisfaction level of our customers. So that is where we are trying to find out the answer to them. Then this is what it is. Then we have got exploratory and the formulative research. So this is the most common type of research that we have. So in the case of exploratory, we are exploring. So how we are exploring? With the help of interviews, or maybe with the help of open-ended surveys, or maybe with the help of our focus group. So for example, it says like for example, I'm exploring that, okay, which can be the best way to cure cancer. Or maybe, for example, if somebody says that, okay, I'm exploring that to what an extent the EVs, electronic vehicles, will be a success. Or maybe if somebody says, okay, I'm going to explore that what is the impact of social media on the mindset of the children, anything. So we are exploring. So that is a kind of a study that we have. So with the help of exploring, we can always generate new ideas, and then the formulation of the problem is easy for us. Please understand, if you're holding a pen and paper, please write it. The more you are going to read, the better it is for you. The more you are going to do your literature review, you're going to understand about the theories which are being used. And once the theory, if you have been able to identify the theories, it will help you to identify your constructs and variables. Once you are able to identify your constructs and variable, your objectives are very clear. Once your objectives are clear, your hypothesis is clear. And once your objectives and hypothesis is clear, my dear friends, you can go ahead with the questionnaire designing. And once you go ahead with your questionnaire designing, it will help you to collect the right data. And then we have got anything which is known as the descriptive. So descriptive means the observations are there, or maybe we are going to investigate, or we are going to do some kind of survey. For example, there can be some kind of survey is being done. For example, what are the impact of deforestation, or or maybe the tree plantation. So it's a kind of a descriptive study. Or maybe the company wants to know how to evaluate the morale level of the entire group, or the motivation level of the individual people. So this is a kind of a descriptive research that we have. So of course the purpose is to focus directly on the theoretical point, and we are describing things as it is. So we are going deep down and trying to understand. Please, again, I'm reiterating myself, please identify the theories which have been used. This will help you to give you excuse me, this will help you to get the get the variables and your constructs clearly. So this is a very, very important step in the research. Then the sorry. Hmm, where was I need to check this. We have done it. Okay, I'm sorry. So types of research, so exploring and the descriptive, the things as they are. Then we have got another kind of research design, that is your diagnostic. So we are trying to understand the root cause of any particular problem. So why it has happened. So if we understand the root cause of the events or the behavior, why did people behave in a particular way? So I'm trying to diagnose. We are trying to identify the causes of a particular problem. Why the patients are not recovering? Why the sales of the company they are not picking up? Why the people are leaving the organization, or the attrition rate is very high? Why the product is not being sold in spite of its good quality and texture, whatever it is? So we are trying to go deep down, going to the root cause. So that is your actually your diagnostic study. So of course the purpose is to unlayer the cause of a particular problem, and to identify that why it is happening. So to get the answer to that question is your why. Then another kind of research design is all related with your evaluation study. So this is basically a kind of a systematic analysis where why things are happening. Or for example, the purpose is to extract that kind of meaningful information from the audience. So example, from the doctors or maybe staff, we are evaluation, okay, what they have said, to what an extent it is true. Is it good enough to spend time on particular aspect of any topic which you're doing? So the purpose is to find out the activities which have been done, or kind of a systematic analysis which is helping us to identify that whether a particular or a thing or a strategy or a process is worth the time that we are investing or no. Then we have got the action research. Now action research is basically the applied research in our social sciences, and the main aim is to investigate and to solve a problem or to solve an issue. So here basically you have to understand that we are identifying the problem and we are giving the solution also. So for example, if I say that how we can structure the protocols of homework of the students to increase the students' efficiency. So we are identifying the cause, that okay, what should be the protocols, and simultaneously how we can increase their efficiency part also. For example, we can say in the case of action research, that what is the impact of yoga on students. So we have to understand that, okay, firstly we have identified, we are investigation things related to the yoga, and then we are trying to find out the impact also. Is it having an impact on the students or no? So there can be n number of things which are can be part of your action research, but you have to understand that we investigate and we go for the solution of a problem. Then we have got the experimental research. So this is more of a scientific approach that we have, and we can and here basically we say that, we are manipulating the variables to determine the cause and effect relationship. So anything when we have the experiments, so there's always a relationship of cause and effect relationship. For example, if you fill a balloon with a hot air, it will blow up. So there's a cause and effect relationship, okay, in the scientific way. So here also in the experimental research, we say that we do some kind of experiments. For example, we say that in case if we control the temperature of the room, then we are trying to find out what impact it is going to have on the students productivity, for example. So this is more into the scientific part, or we are having different variables which can be controlled, which can be manipulated, which can be observed, so on and so forth. So they, of course, it's more of a the predictive phenomenon, right? So for example, if I say that, if the plants, they are kept outside the or they under the sun, what kind of growth they are going to have. So we are doing some kind of experiment. Then we have got the analytical study. Analytical study, as you can say, that it's like more of a process of gathering and analyzing and interpreting the information to make the inferences. So when I say inferences, my dear friends, inferences is nothing but it means the conclusions, that you can draw a conclusion about, or you can generalize the your findings. So it's like more of a analytical. We are analyzing. For example, we are making a comparison. For example, I say that, okay, we are making a comparison between the smokers and the non-smokers. So I'm going to make an analysis that, what kind of factors are features or factors affect the smokers, and what are the factors which affect the non-smokers, for example. So we are gathering the data, we are analyzing it, putting it into softwares, we are applying different kind of tests based on certain criteria, and then we are drawing the inferences. So this is more of a hypothesis testing. Please understand, hypothesis is nothing but it's just kind of a wild guess that we have, and we test it with the help of statistical tests. I will just give you the thumb rule which I learned in IIM Ahmedabad in just few minutes from now. Then we have got historical research. So historical research is basically we are trying to recapture, anything which has already been done in the past is what is history. So we are trying to recapture the complex nuances that have already been done earlier in the past, and we are trying to figure out some kind of research, or trying to draw some kind of explanation and the generalization from the from this historical research. So another type of research that we have, it's all related with the survey research. So of course, the survey itself is telling us that, we are having a question, or we are designing questionnaire, we are administrating our questionnaire to large like segment of people, and we are trying to collect the data, then we are going to analyze it, then we are going to apply the test, and then we are going to get the inferences. So inferences is nothing but the conclusions that we draw about the uh, entire population, or we can make some kind of explanation and the generalizations. Then we have got a case study. So case study is like of course, this is a way by which we do some kind of research also. So like, for example, in IIMs and all, how do they teach students? They teach with the help of the case study, and then we find out what are the things, or we go for the analysis part, or based on the certain criteria. Then we have got kind of research field research. It says that, of course, we are again going deeper to the real world, going deep down, or interacting with people. For example, if you're doing any research in the rural belt, so you're actually going down to the rural areas, and then you are understanding, and then you are going to find out or get the best results. So research, so these are the different kind of research designs, just a bird's eye view. So it actually gives us the blueprint how we have to proceed. So it will actually help us to understand the title, the purpose of the study, the literature review. Please understand, please, if you're holding a pen and paper, you can write it. Literature review will always help you to get the research gaps, and it will also help you to identify the different kind of theories. And once with the theories have been identified, you will be able to find out the constructs and the variables. And once you're able to find out the constructs and the variables, it will help us to find the objectives. Once the objectives have been formulated, then it will be easy for us to go for the hypothesis making. And once you make the hypothesis, then we accordingly make the questionnaire and we collect the data, and then we proceed with the data collection and the analysis part. So this is all about your LR. This was all about your research design. So this another topic is on the literature review, my dear friends. Please understand that literature review is very, very important, because whenever you're writing a research paper or whenever you're writing your thesis, you're supposed to write the literature review. And Zotero is a kind of a software which helps you with the referencing part also. So the more papers you're collecting, the more papers you're reading, it will always give you a better understanding of the theories that have been used. You can actually identify the variables, you can actually identify the indicators also. So the indicators basically means the statements that can be used in your questionnaire. So this is it's all about your literature review. So it is going to help you. It is going to connect with you with your research study. How? Because you are going to able to identify the theories which have been used, and it will also help you to understand the it will always understand the variables and the constructs which have been used, or to identify the gray areas or the gaps, and accordingly we can proceed. So it's written, no, use proper APA, American Psychological the citation form. So there can be different softwares which can be used for the citation purpose. So most trending one is the Zotero and the Mendeley. So the more you're reading the papers, you can add on to the Zotero software, and it will help you to give the proper referencing part also. So in the case of literature review, we can always summarize the work that has been done and how we do it. Of course, we do it with the help of the different papers or the and work which has been done. But the only thumb rule is read, read, read. The more you're going to read, the better it is for you, and then you can always synthesize your findings. Synthesize is basically you need to make an Excel sheet, and you identify who's the author, what are the variables used, which kind of test they have used, or what is their conclusion, or what they have what are the limitations, or which are the gaps. So you have to give a lot of time in your literature review also. So a lot of analysis, and you have to analyze, synthesize, and evaluate. So synthesize is basically you're combining the work which you have read in the literature review in a coherent way. So for example, like, you can always make an Excel sheet like this, author, date, publication, what was the aim, what was the kind of a design used, what was the conclusion, what was the finding. So in this way you're going to have number of paper which will actually help you to identify. So look at here on the screen also, like for example, it's for example, it was a school bird to 2013, right? So this was the summary. You wrote the summary. You have to read. Please understand, you have to read. Then what was the aim, right? So what kind of design they have used it? Like for example, they have used age limit from 22 to 18, 18 to 22 years, or maybe what was the result? Okay, so this was the result. No difference in HR. I have just picked up from the internet only. And then what was the conclusion? So this is how you're going to actually keep on writing, and then you're going to synthesize it. Okay, so what people have said, different people must have talked different on a particular topic also. So you have to synthesize the results that you have actually done it in your literature review. Another topic which I wish to cover is related with the sampling, my dear friends. Sampling is picking up of a small sample from the entire population. And when we talk about the sampling, it's like, you have to pick up the right sample just to get the right kind of result. So in the case of this sampling also, you have to understand that who will be your population, and identifying the sampling frame. Whom are you going to talk about? Whether you're going to talk about in the state level or the city level or the area level, whether you're going to talk about the students, whether you're going to talk about males, whether you're going to talk about females, whether you're going to do your study on rural areas or on urban areas. You have to cluster them. You have to have that kind of proper backup, right? So that is your sampling plan. You have to understand that how what should be your sample size. Look, right, so there's a kind of a formula which people apply. There is a software of G Power also, which way helps you to give you the sample size for your study. So here in the case of population, it should be based on your how do you decide? For example, on the basis of geographic area, you say that okay, I'm going to do my research in Andhra Pradesh, I'm going to do my research in NCR, I'm going to do my research in UP, I'm going to do it in Tamil Nadu. So that's the geographic area. Demographics, like for example, you're going to do it, you're going to study people from 18 years to 22 years, or whether you're going to study people from 40 to 60 years. So you can always use those demographics. Then again, the awareness, the lifestyle. So this will help you to identify the population. Please understand, all these things are always based on the kind of topic that you're choosing. So please choose your topic and the research area very carefully, because that is the root of everything. Then we have a sampling frame. For sampling frame also involves that whether you want to talk about the people or the companies or the houses or the cities, and then you can always get that kind of error also. Now in our research, we have got actually different kind of sampling methods. We say that probability sampling and non-probability sampling. Now the basic difference between probability sampling and non-probability sampling is a very basic difference. Then you may have a deep sessions. Probability sampling basically says that every sample has a equal chance of getting selection or selected, and non-probability sampling is a different. So people say that, generally what happens is that probability sampling is little costly affair, but of course it is very rigorous, and it says that in the case of probability sampling, that everyone can be included, but it's a kind of it is very very complex actually. So people generally, they don't go for the probability sampling, but yes, people who have got their big projects or grants or projects from different institutions, they generally go for the probability sampling. And non-probability sampling is okay, as per your own convenience, you can pick up the things, and it involves more use in the case of pilot studies or the qualitative phase, or in the qualitative areas. So like in the case of probability sampling, there can be four kind of samplings. So how you actually understand SSSS: simple, random, systematic, stratified, and clustered. And in the case of our non-probability, convenience, judgment, snowball, quota, this is the four types of probability sampling that we have. So here in the case of probability sampling, there's a simple random sampling. You randomly select anybody for your research, and you get the data. Then you have got a systematic sampling. Systematic means there is an nth number. For example, if there are 600 students in a school, you cannot identify all 600 students, or you can take data from them. You say that okay, I am going to pick up every 15th student. So 15th student is a systematic sampling. Every 15th student I'm going to pick up, and I'm going to get the data. Then in the case of cluster sampling, is like you make a cluster, small clusters are made, right? So maybe cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3, and with the help of these clusters, you can identify how we are going to. For your clusters, they can be on the basis of your age, sex, choice, location, or demographic. You say that I'm going to pick up the age of 6 to 30 years. So this is one cluster that we have made. Or maybe male and female, or maybe the location, or you say that okay, high income groups or low income groups. So you have made the cluster. Then you have got a stratified random sampling. Stratified sampling basically means that you are making homogeneous groups. For example, you can see that okay, there can be females, but again you can stratify them. Stratified means the stratas can be made. For example, they can be female of different age, of different earning capacity. So so you have stratified it. So they are known as like homogeneous groups. When there is when time is limited, when the study is there, and you do not have much time, so we actually stratified in a proper way. So this is all about your simple random sampling. Is like anybody can be selected. Systematic is like every 50th student, or 10th student, or 20th student can be selected for the particular for the data collection, anything like that. So in the case of stratified, it's again the kind of a stratas that we are making. So stratas is basically nothing but homogeneous groups that we have. So let me quickly skip this. Then we have got non-probability sampling methods. Now non-probability sampling methods basically says that it is more easy to do it, and more of the researchers, they go for the non-probability probability sampling method. And in the case of non-pram, the main goal is to get the insights rather to go for the generalization of the population. You have to understand this. Okay, I'm doing a research. I'm not concerned with the population, but I need to get some kind of output from the results. Then we go for the non-probability sampling. So convenience sampling is one of the best way, judgmental, quota, and the snowball. So very quickly, I'll give you the hint. Convenience sampling is like as per the convenience of the researcher, you can choose people from the group and you can get the data from them. Then we have got the judgmental sampling. It's like, again, the judgment is in the hand of the researcher to decide who are the best people from where I can get the data. Then quota sample is basically specific characteristics. For example, I really want to take the people who are into earning from 10,000 to 30,000 only. So the quota has been decided. And the snowball sampling means the snowball, the ball keeps on rolling. It's basically the key word in the snowball is that the referencing is done. You go to a particular respondent, okay, can you refer me somebody else also? He said, okay, you can meet Mr. X. You go to Mr. X, can you tell me somebody else who can give me the data? Okay, you can meet Mr. Y. So that's how the snowball sampling goes on. Then there is a sample size way also. Sample size is very important because, data collection is the most tedious task of any research that we have. So it's very time consuming also, costly affair also. So you have to be very careful that we should be, what is your ideal size of your particular population. So there can be different metrics can be used in order to identify the sample size. And the most prominent one is the G power that we use for the calculation of our sample size. Then we have got different kind of data also, qualitative and categorical. So at times people, they get confused between the categorical and quantitative data. So categorical data basically means nominal, ordinal, and discrete. I'll just give you a bird's eye view and you will immediately get to understand this. Nominal is basically the identification. For example, if Virat Kohli is wearing a t-shirt of number 7, that doesn't mean that he is seventh number player. Okay, so just for the identification purpose, for example, your mobile number or the books in the shelf in the library, or maybe your phone number, or maybe, male and female, you can quote M as 1 or 2, or maybe F as 1 or 2. So just for the identification purpose we have. For example, bus numbers we have got. So bus numbers, it can be 59 or 69. So it means that it is flying on a particular route. So when we talk about ordinal basically means the ranking part. Okay, so ranking, for example, ranking of the students in our class, ranking of your choice of your restaurant, ranking of the newspapers that you like, ranking of the soap that you actually use, how you would rank them. All right, so ordinal basically means ranking. So the key word is ranking. Then we have got quantitative data, discrete and continuous. So discrete is ideally in the whole number. Okay, we say it is in the whole number, and continuous is like they are not in the whole number. For example, I say that okay, her height is 5.2 centimeters. So that would be our continuous data that we have. So these are the two types of data that I've just told you. That nominal is just for the identification, ordinal is for the ranking part, and we have got other kind of data also, interval and ratio data. So these are so any at times people, they get confused that what is a categorical data. So categorical data is basically your nominal and ordinal, and this is your metric data that we have. So whenever you're going to use your SPSS also, there you will be getting those metric scales only, interval and ratio data. The basic difference between the two is of the 0, that in one there is a value of 0 and another it does not have. For example, if I say 0 degree Celsius, so that doesn't mean the absence of temperature. 0 degree basically means that yes, there is a temperature which is there, and it is very, very cold also. So this is all about the interval and ratio data. I don't have much time at my disposal, otherwise I would have told you much more about it. So in the case of interval data or ratio data, you just have to understand that in the case of interval scale, we can always add and subtract the things, whereas in the case of ratio, we can add, subtract, multiply, or divide the thing. For example, if it is 20 kg, we can say that 20 kg is twice of 10 kg. So this is how we actually do it, and there can be different kind of tests that can be applied for the purpose of our inferences. So you can see it on the screen also: frequency, mode, median, percentile, or maybe the standard deviation, or maybe the charts can be used. So you just have to understand, I'm repeating myself: nominal and ordinal is the categorical data, interval and ratio is the metric scale data that we have. Then in the case of research also, we have got different kind of test also, my dear friends, which is known as the parametric and non-parametric test. So in the case of parametric and non-parametric test, there are different assumptions which are actually kept in the mind of normality and other things. So in the case of a parametric test, of course, itself is a topic of 1 hour, but you can understand that in the case of parametric test, the population consists of the mean and standard deviation, and there's a concept of normally distribution. So there are different tests also which are applied for the checking of the normality of the data. And in the case of non-parametric test, the data is not normally distributed. And one of the biggest softwares that we have right now, it's all related with the PLS-SEM, you might have heard about. So PLS-SEM is basically used where we can have the non-normal data, and the analysis can be done in a much better way. So there are different ways of doing it. So I'm not going deep into it. So there can be different kind of tests that can be applied in the case of our parametric and non-parametric test. So this can be related with the t-test, ANOVA, where we have got groups, okay, and we have got the independent t-test, f-test. So there are different tests that are actually done. So please see if it is written predictor, right? So if the word predictor is there, you can note it down. Predictor basically means your independent variable. Independent variable is a variable that can be manipulated, and which is going to have an impact on the are dependent variable also. So parametric tests and non-parametric tests, the most common ones are chi-square, or maybe the Mann-Whitney test, Crucial-Wallace test, Wilcoxon sign rank test, Friedman test. So these are the all non-parametric tests that we have got. So, but again, the criteria have to be fulfilled, when we are taking a call on the parametric and the non-parametric test. So look here also, the word categorical is there. So please don't get confused. Categorical basically means the nominal and the ordinal scale that we have. Then another important part is all related with the data collection, my dear friends. So data collection, again, I told you it's very, very essential. You have to collect data with the help of your different ways. It can be with the help of your database, or if you're collecting the secondary data. Primary data, it will be with the help of the questionnaire, only the most prominent way, or we can go for the observation, the interviews, the focus groups, the different ways by which we can collect data. So the quantitative data can be analyzed in a proper way, and the different tests can be applied. So qualitative data, how to analyze the qualitative data? It is with the help of, NVivo is a software which is actually used, which helps us to go for the qualitative research. We can do narrative analysis, discourse analysis, grounded theory, thematic analysis, how the things are in a particular way. So these are the different kind of analysis. In case if you want, you can search it in Google, and we can get it with the help of our NVivo softwares. Then another very important concept in our research is related with the p-value. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Only one ma'am can hear me. What about the other participants? I cannot see the name. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. It's quite clear. Very
All right.
nice.
Okay. All right. So just pick up a pen
Yes,
and a
yes,
paper.
ma'am.
I'll give you a
Yes.
thumb rule. I will give you a thumb rule. So, at times, when I was in IIMs, I also used to get confused like anything. So, I got a guru month. I'm going to give you the guru month, and you are going to remember it throughout your life. So, generally when we go for the hypothesis testing, my dear friends, we've got two kind of null hypothesis testing: null hypothesis and alternated hypothesis. So, you can write it in your pen and paper. All those who are listening to me, just write down minus and minus is equal to plus. Minus and minus is equal to plus. Plus minus is equal to minus. But just write down these two things. Minus minus is equal to plus, and plus minus is equal to minus. So how do we draw the conclusion? You might have heard about the word significant. It is significant. It is insignificant. I also used to get confused like anything. So just another write down that null hypothesis is always formulated in a negative way. Null hypothesis is always formulated in a negative way. So minus minus is equal to plus. Another thing, just write down that p value is the probability value, and if it is less than 0.05, you will get all these values with the help of the softwares. So if the p value is less than 0.05, that means we are going to reject the null hypothesis. Okay. So minus minus is equal to plus, plus minus is equal to minus, and if the p value is less than 0.05, we will reject the null hypothesis. Just write these three sentences. Now look at the beauty of it. Now, for example, I told you the example that there is a relation. If I say that the null hypothesis is there is no relationship between the culprit and the crime committed, that means I want to prove this wrong, right? There is a relationship between the culprit and the crime that he has or she has committed. So it is already in the negative form. So if with the help of the software, if I get the value anything which is less than 0.05, that means I'm going to reject the null hypothesis. So minus and minus is equal to plus. That means it is significant. Minus and minus is equal to plus. That means it is significant. That means yes, there is a relationship between the culprit and the crime committed. So this is how we actually interpret it, right? So just write these two things. P values should be less than 0.05. You are going to reject it. Rejection means minus minus is equal to plus. So whichever statement you have done it in your hypothesis, that will be significant. Significant basically means it is going to hold true. I hope, is it clear? Hello? Hello?
Yes, yes, madam.
Okay, minus minus is equal to plus, plus minus is equal to minus. If the p value is less than 0.05, reject it. So minus minus is equal to plus. That means whichever statement you have written in your hypothesis, null hypothesis, that will hold true. Now, another beauty of it, this is how we actually test the hypothesis. Another beauty of this, you can write it like, there are different kind of errors also, type 1, type 2. Just write one word. Anything which is true, you're rejecting it. Just write one statement. Anything which is true, you are rejecting it. That means you are going to get type 1 error. Anything which is true, you are rejecting it. For example, you have rejected the right candidate for the company. That means you are going to encounter the type 1 error. And then, this is a 2 by 2 matrix. If you're able to get one aspect, all these things will hold true. There can be different terminology, alpha, beta. You can understand it later on. Just understand this type 1 error. Anything which is true, you have rejected. You have rejected the right medicine that should be given to the patient. You are going to encounter the type 1 error. And everything will fall in place. If you're able to understand the one concept, you will be able to do it. So I had thought of giving you an overview of this paper. I'll just take another 5 minutes to finish off my presentation here. Look here. This is the paper that we have. Right. So the relationship between factors related to divorce requests and mental health among the divorce applicant women. Okay. So this was the population that they were studying about the divorced women. So look at this, how you write it, objectives and material methods used. So they have used the software as SPSS. The number is 434. That means 434 is the sample size that they have actually taken. Look here. The beauty of it. Okay, so we are trying to figure out the relationship between the mental health of the diverse women applicant. So p value is less than 0.05. That means we are going to reject the null hypothesis. So once the hypothesis is rejected, that means it is significant. Look here, the beauty of it. The result part. Look here. For example, these are the demographics, age, education. So these people, they must have gone for this kind of research. So look at the p value. So p value is like 0.002. That means it is significant. Can you understand this? So here significant basically means yes, the education level is having an impact on the mental health of the divorce applicant women. For example, age. So if it is 0.232, so this is above 0.05. That means we are going to accept it. That means plus minus minus. That means the age does not have any kind of relationship between the two. Look at this occupation. It is significant 0.022. That means yes, there is a relationship of occupation on the mental health of the divorced women, whether it is a housewife, whether they are self-employed or whether they are employed somewhere. So this is how we actually interpret these results. So this is the hypothesis that I'm discussing, and in case if you go down the paper, you will read it that okay, and that's how we do it. Look at here, chi-square. So chi-square is actually is basically basically a non-parametric test that they have used it. So non-parametric test is basically where there are certain criteria of normality and other things they are not actually met. So keep on seeing. So look at this. Okay, we are again we are trying to establish a relationship between the women's mental health and among the divorce applicants. So look here, family consent 0.030. So it is basically significant. That means it is less than 0.05. So 0.05 minus minus is equal to plus. That means yes, the family consent plays an important role in the in the women's mental health and amongst the divorce applicant. This is how we actually interpret it, and we write it in our research papers also. So for example, in feeling of inferiority in life, so people who are divorce applicants, so it is significant 0.008. That means it is less than 0.005. So that means we are rejecting it. That means yes, the feeling of inferiority has an impact on the mental health of the diverse women among the diverse applicant divorce people or the women. So this is how we actually interpret these result and this right. So this is how we do it. So again, they can be articles. So this is again related with the p-value and the significance part. And lastly, just to give you the overview of the research report, once you have done your title is decided, you've done your literature review to find out the gap objectives, and with the help of your objectives, you're going to frame your hypothesis, and you have to understand that you have to find out the theories which have actually been used in the various researches. So you have to identify the theories. Theories will help you to give you the constructs and the variables. These construct and variables will help you to identify your objectives. Once your objectives are done, your hypothesis is done. Once your hypothesis is done, you're going to do the questionnaire designing. Once you have designed the questionnaire properly, you are going to float that questionnaire, and then you're going to get the responses. And once you get the responses, we actually go for the what do you call this, data interpretation, and this is how we are going to present it in our research report. So this is research report. You're going to talk about all these headers, and that's all I have got from my side, just to give you the overview of the research methodology. Excuse me. If we knew what we were doing, it wouldn't be called research, would it be? No, it wouldn't be. So anything which we are not known to is what is actually research. And research methodology, I think I've tried my level best to give you the maximum concepts in 1 hour of my time. So these are my books. There are more books, and my HRM book is one of the best-selling books. More than 4,000 copies have already been sold. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being with me today. So it says that science is not belief, but the will to find out. So with this, I wish you all great success in your research journey. All those people who are doing their research or PhD, or people who are already doctorate and they are absorbed in any of the organizations. So including myself, we are into academia, so we keep on doing research regularly. So please keep up that will of finding out. So that means the curiosity of finding out what, why, when, where will definitely help us to go a long way. So that's all from my side. Thank you so